Hello! Welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Poshman. I am going to be starting my 5th year of architecture at the University of Oregon. Today, I am here to talk to you about architecture internships. I guess maybe we should go through like what I have done personally, my story. Freshman year, that summer was like COVID summer, height of COVID summer. I did not do an internship that summer. I was an SOSer. Yay, orientation. I was an SOSer, I did everything remote, it was really fun. The summer after my sophomore year, I had 2 part-time internships. I had one that was in person and then one that was remote. So I'd go for half of the day for the in-person one, and I'd come back by like lunchtime, 1 or 2 o'clock max, and then I would do work online for the remote internship. My junior year summer, so last summer, I had studied abroad in the spring, interned in Seattle. I'm not from Seattle, but I interned in Seattle. I was there with Emily and Adobe. So I interned there. It was like my first time working in like an actual big firm. Amazing experience. I loved the firm. And then this year I'm doing an internship in the city in San Francisco. How did I get these internships? Or my sophomore year, the one that I did 2 part-time ones, I got it from one of them. I had like shadowed with them when I was in high school, and I just reached out and they were like, yeah, of course, like we would love to have you intern here. And then the second one, I'd sent them like my portfolio and like some of the projects I had done in the past. And then the second one was because fall, I had a studio, and this is my like favorite professor in the world. He referred me to one of these people and was like, oh, like you should reach out to them, they really liked your work. Maybe just like email them and see if they're like wanting an internship or looking for an internship. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. Yeah, definitely. Of course I'm gonna do that. So that's how I did that one. Just like reaching out. The second one, junior year, that summer, I honestly, LinkedIn, I mass messaged a bunch of different firms and UO alum at all of these different firms that I wanted to intern at. And I just was like, hey, like I'm really interested. Can I set up like an informational interview, like something like that? And I like heard back from a lot of people actually, which is really amazing. I mean, UO alum, they are amazing. They are so great. And one of them was my mentor actually at the firm I was in Seattle. And he just was like, yeah, like for sure. And he were like chatting a lot, and like I was really interested in that firm. And he was like, yeah, for sure, like send me your stuff. And so I sent my stuff to him, and he like helped me get the internship. And I had applied, I had done all this, it was a whole process. And yeah, it was honestly like I'm very, very grateful for that and for him for helping me through that. And then this last year, one of my friends interned at this company last summer. And he was like, you should apply, like they're really cool, I think you would enjoy it. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I applied, met them at the career fair, and it like went from there. So I would definitely, so a couple tips when it comes to internship stuff. LinkedIn, make a LinkedIn. If you haven't made a LinkedIn, make a LinkedIn. And just connect with professors, connect with peers, connect with anyone. Like just do it. It's necessary, and it is intimidating. You don't need to post. I don't post regularly on LinkedIn. I only post if I'm starting an internship or I'm ending an internship. Second is career fair. Career fair is amazing. I definitely highly recommend going to your career fair. When this last year we actually had it in person, so I was able to I had a copy of my portfolio on my iPad, and then I had printed out resumes that I handed out to different firms, and I got emails from them, and they had like written down like things that I was interested in. I was actually got some opportunities from that, and that's how I ended up getting this internship at the end of the day. So I would highly recommend career fairs. General process of architecture internship. So I would say start working on your portfolio fall term, so August, September till December. And then start reaching out to firms and like alum, whoever, connections, January, February. Architecture is not like software engineering where you like find out if you have an internship like that winter, or that's like February, March. You actually, honestly, in a lot of places, you don't find out if you have an internship till May, like April, May. So it's pretty late compared to other things, and like you apply pretty late too. So I would say that that's definitely something to keep in mind, because I think starting, I would get really anxious and like I'd get really stressed that I like didn't have an internship by a certain amount of time, but I kept comparing it to like engineering and business and like other things like that and other fields like that, and that's not the case for architecture. But yeah, so that was my portfolio advice. And then reach out to firms, individual contacts you may have, whatever it may be. January, February, set up informational interviews, which is basically like you asking questions about what you have, like questions you have about the firm. What's the firm like culture like? What are the projects that you work on? What projects are you working on? What is like a day in the life that you have at the firm? What type of projects do you take on? Is it a big firm? What are your benefits of working in a big firm versus a small firm? Stuff like that, like general questions that you may have about it. I'm gonna answer some questions that people have, aka my friends, have asked me to answer. What was the process of research or applying to architecture internships? So I kind of touched on it a little bit. Definitely, I would say look up firms that you personally like. Let's say, for example, ZGF. Like, I really love ZGF. This is like a whole hypothetical situation. I really love ZGF. I love their work. And I want to intern for them. So you search up ZGF on LinkedIn. You'll see like a thing that goes like, oh, people from your university work at this firm. And you're like, oh, and then you like press on it, and then you can see all the people from your university that are alum and that work at the firm. And I honestly just went click, 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 click. I connected with everybody, and I was like, okay, like I'm gonna message every single person that I can, and then see if they will respond to me. And a lot of them do, and a lot of them will talk to you. So I would say definitely do that. A second thing is career fair. I think, as I mentioned earlier, like you just go there with your resume, go there with like a positive attitude, just be nice, be like, try to make a connection with the person. Don't be like extremely professional. Like, you have to be a little casual. You have to be like, hey, like, how's it going? The first place that I was talking to for the career fair, I really connected with one of the designers that was there, and we like, she was asking me about like what my weekend plans were, and I was telling her that I had like a Indian ball that I was going to, and we were just talking about that. Like, a lot of the time it's not really, they want to get to know you as a person, not just like, oh, these are my credentials, like these are all the things that I've done. Like, that's cool, that's great, but you also have to show them that you're like a person, like you're actually there and like gonna be a personality and gonna talk to people and gonna like reach out, become friends, be a social person in this, be able to like connect with the people that work at the firm, fit into the firm culture and the firm atmosphere. So I think that's definitely like a big thing. So just don't talk about like professional architecture stuff all the time, because they do that every day at work. You need to make a personal connection with these people as well. So, because there are people like, we're like, me making a connection isn't just me talking about like, oh, architecture, like, yeah, these structures and these beams, blah 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 blah, like this is my portfolio, da, 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 da. I've taken like all these enclosure classes, da, 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 da. I'm like passive house certified and like LEED green like certified, blah 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 blah. Like, that's cool, that's great, that's amazing, I'm really happy for you. But you also need to be like, hey, how are you liking Eugene so far? Like, it's a nice place. There's like a couple spots. Have you had like blah 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 yet? Oh, I would highly recommend. Like, it's just be casual, be a little casual. You don't have to be super professional. And that too with like interviews too. Like, you can't constantly be professional, because they're gonna be like, oh, this person is like oh, they're like a robot. They like, this is the only thing that they can talk about. But you need to be like, oh yeah, like, yeah, I like do this, I have so many other activities, talk about like your life, like stuff like that, and like certain things that you do. So I would say just like you have to find that balance of like architecture and just daily life, because architecture is not daily life. Architecture is not everything in life. So how to interview. Interviewing is a tough process, and I took a class actually that it was like a professional development type class, where they like taught me how to, helped me build my resume. They talked to me about like how to set up an informational interview, how to email someone for an informational interview, what to do during an interview. Have questions prepared. That's a big thing. Have questions prepared, and actual like stimulating questions. Ask questions, because they think of that as like proactive and like you want to know more, you're actually interested in it, stuff like that. So I would say, yeah, definitely ask questions, be personable, be kind, be polite, say hello, smile. Everybody loves a good smile. And make sure, like, if you're on a Zoom interview, you have good lighting, everything is prepared. Make sure that no one is coming into your room, there's no like distractions or anything like that. What are common interview questions? Actually, you know what, like a lot of the time I have just heard that like, oh, like get questions about like what do you do, like what are your interests, what are certain fields that you're interested in, what are certain projects that you want to do. I didn't know that a lot of the questions that I got were my portfolio related, so I actually walked through my portfolio in all of the interviews that I've done, just who you are as a designer. So you have to make sure that you convey that when you design and make your portfolio, and make it simple. Do not have too much text in your portfolio, because no one's going to be sitting there reading your text for like days and days and days. Images, people love images, they will eat it up. So make sure you have a lot of images, whether that's like models, whether that's plans, diagrams, renders, whatever it may be. Make sure you have images and not that much text, like a smaller amount of text. I personally think that that is like the easiest way to convey things, because we're in architecture, we're in a creative field, we're in a design field. A lot of us are visual learners, so it's important to have those visuals and those graphics when explaining your work. And we spend so much time on our drawings and stuff like that, so it's might as well like show them off a little bit. And then what I mentioned earlier about like being personable and stuff, I think that's also really important. What the heck goes in a portfolio? I'm so glad you asked. I love talking about portfolios, they're my favorite thing. Your projects, so I keep it to like three projects, 3 to 4 projects. You put your like best one first, your favorite studio project that you've ever done, or like the one that shows like your interest or something that you were interested in and really passionate about first. Second project is like another one that's like pretty good. It can also be someone like one of your older projects, like maybe something from a sophomore studio project, like something that you haven't really developed as much, but it's there. And then you always end it with really good, and we start with really good, end with really good. In the middle can be like filler projects. So I would say like I put like flashy stuff, like things that looked really nice, like exploded axon, renders, vignettes, diagrams, plan sections. If they're really pretty, yeah, definitely put them in. Anything to also explain like your thought process and like how your design process. Put those in. Sketches, like hand sketches, put those in, stuff like that. I have a category that's like other work in my portfolio, and it's like my photography, it's my furniture, my piece that I made, sketches, stuff like that. And I have that on a totally different section of my portfolio. So I have it where it's like title page, table of contents of like each studio and the name of it. And I have like on the title page of each studio project, of each like chapter of it, I have like a little blurb about like what the project was and what was my design intent, and that's like the most amount of words I have for each project, other than like label for the diagrams and designs. 3-ish pages for each of the projects. So my portfolio is probably like 15 pages, 16 max. Yeah, don't make it too long, it's not necessary. Pick your favorite images from each studio project, and I think you should be good to go. What do I need to prepare before I apply? I mentioned this earlier. Portfolio, make sure it's good. Resume, make sure it's up to date. And connect with people on LinkedIn. Yeah, and also mentally prepare. Like this is like a very competitive field to be in. And like if you don't get like your top choice, like that's okay. Like you need to mentally prepare yourself that like that's okay. There's always another option. There's always a second option, and like go for multiple different options. Don't just stick to one firm that you want to work in, because you never know, like you could start enjoying something totally different if you like branch out and try something new. So I would say mentally prepare for that too, because like I remember like the amount of rejection emails I got from internships and stuff. So I would highly recommend just like mentally preparing. Preparing for secondary interviews. I only had one firm that I had, the internship that I'm doing right now had 2 interviews. So the first one was with like the connection I had made at the career fair, and then someone else that they had called, and they just like, it was like a pretty chill interview. And then the second one was a little bit more intense, with HR and like a pretty high associate or principal at the firm, partner at the firm. ask questions during the secondary interview as well. Make sure you have different questions than the ones that you've asked at your first interview, and ask them like personal, not personal questions, but like position related questions. So like the first person that interviewed me for my first interview was a designer, so I asked her questions about what's it like being a designer and stuff like that. And then the second person who was interviewing me was an associate, and I was like, okay, like let me ask you questions that are like pertaining to you being an associate versus you being a designer. Like, what was your process like? How did you find this firm? What are your thoughts? Because like it's different from like an associate versus a designer, because the associate's probably been there longer than the designer has, and they've like grown in this position, in this role. So I would say definitely like those are two very important things to keep in mind. And like I have like a routine that I do before interviews of like I practice my portfolio speech blurb that I say during interviews, like in the mirror, in the shower, and like wherever, and I like make sure that I get enough sleep the night before. I am in a quiet space, that I don't have any distractions. There's no like family coming into my room. There's no roommate. There's like nothing in like the area. Even if that means like booking a study room or something on campus, like do it. Like it's necessary, then do it. I would say another really important thing is research the firm. Like they'll ask you questions like, what is something that drew you to this firm versus other firms? And like you should have an answer for that. Like you should know like, oh, there's like certain project that you worked on, and like go to their project, like their website, and look at the projects that they've done, and like look at through all the projects they've done and things that you found interesting, things that you were like, wow, this is a really cool project. I think like your sustainable measures in this are really interesting. And yeah, I would say definitely that is something that is really good to have prepared before any interview. Just like do your own background research of the firm, because like they're seeing if you're a good fit for the firm, and also if like you're passionate about the work that they do. Those are my tips on architecture internships. It's obviously everyone's process is different, and I'm not an expert. That's my disclaimer, not an expert. I've only been doing it for a couple years, so please take whatever advice I'm giving you with a grain of salt. Everyone's process and journey is a lot different than mine, so I obviously have different experiences, and I like your process and your journey might be completely different than someone else's, and there's no point in judging. There's no point in like comparing yourself to other people. So make sure that you do the process that's best for you, and yeah, you're gonna kill it. You're gonna get an internship. It's okay. Like, and if you don't get it, that's fine. That's okay. Like, there are other things to do other than architecture that are going to help you in life, and whether that be like taking a course, taking like a random Photoshop class. I wish I took a Photoshop class. I'm actually taking one in the fall because I am lacking in that department. So like there's things that you can do to better improve your like your personal resume. I hope that this video was helpful in some sort of way, and that I hope you get an internship. I know you will. I'm not even worried. I'm like not even worried at all. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. And if you have any questions or anything, just comment them down below. DM me on Instagram if they're personal questions about your own internship journey, and I will be more than happy to answer them. So yeah, love ya. Bye.